Okay, welcome everybody to Torah Shabbat Pet 12H. This is going to be the first of hopefully many screencasts that we are going to utilize in class in a number of ways. Today we're going to use it as a way of kind of pre-learning. We're getting a jump start on what I hope to learn with you tomorrow. But it's almost like today I want to run through the ABCs in this little Gemara here so that we can have a slightly different conversation tomorrow. Hopefully we will use these type of videos to get jump starts on what we want to learn, or perhaps as a review. So at the moment here, let's jump right into a Gemara in Rosh Hashana. The Gemara says, Amar of Karspadaim, Rav Yochanan, Shlosha Sfarim Niftachen Rosh Hashana. There are 3 books that are open before Kadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashana. What are they? Echad shel Rashaim Gemurim, ve'echad shel Tzadikim Gemurim, ve'echad shel Beinanim. One is for the Rashaim, one is for the tzaddikim, and one is for the beinani. What exactly is a rasha? What is a tzaddik? What is a beinani? So the Ran in his commentary on the Gemara explains the basic idea that a rasha is someone who is primarily, let's say, 51% or more bad in terms of his mitzvos ratio to averos, in terms of his avodas Hashem. He's more bad, more on the averos side. A tzaddik is someone who is 51% or more good, and the beinani is someone who's 50-50. So these are the 3 books that are open. What happens to these 3 people? Tzadikim gemur nechtam v'nechtam l'alter l'chaim. So the tzadikim are written and sealed on Rosh Hashana immediately for life. They're going to live for another year. Risham gemur nechtam v'nechtam l'alter l'misa, whereas the Rishaim are written and sealed on Rosh Hashana for death, meaning the tzaddik apparently is so good that he does not need Asar Simei Tshuva beyond Rosh Hashanah. That's enough to be written and sealed. Whereas a Rasha is so bad, presumably, that he is written and sealed again for Misa on Rosh Hashanah right away. And the Beinani, let's say the 50-50 person, Tuluyan v'omdim, from the word Tala, he's hanging in the balance. Hashem pushes off judgment. May Rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom HaKippurim, from Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur, Zachu nechtaven l'chaim, lo zachu nechtaven l'misa. And then we'll see what happens to him on Asar Simei Tshuva, and up till Yom Kippur. If he is Zocha, if he merits it, then he'll be written l'chaim on Yom Kippur. And if he does not merit it, then he will be written for death. That's the basic Gemara. Now, the one thing I want to just deal with for about 2 minutes, just right now in this little video, is the obvious question that probably most of you are bothered with, that the Gemara says basically, if you're a tzaddik, you're going to live, and if you're a rasha, then you're going to die. And we know that that is not what we see happening in the world. So what does the Gemara mean? Right, we know the Gemara is Torah Shabbat Peh, Torah Min HaShamayim, it's emes. So we just are obviously lacking the understanding of what the Gemara is trying to teach us. So what is it that the Gemara means? So there are basically 4 different angles to look at this. 2 that will reinterpret the words Chaim, 2 that will reinterpret the words tzaddik, or tzaddik in Russia, and Chaim and Misa. The first one you're probably is probably the one that's most intuitive, that you're probably thinking about. What does it mean when we say that you're written for Chaim? And what does it mean when it says that you're written for Misa? So the Balei Tosfos say it means that we're not talking about life and death in this world. That's something that would be a problem from the way the Gemara sounds. What it means is you're Chaim in Olam Haba and not having Chaim in Olam Haba. And therefore, when the Gemara says that your tzaddik is written l'chaim, it means that his share in Olam Haba is increased. And when he says he's written for Misa, it means his share in Olam Haba is decreased. And again, that will answer our question, because obviously our question was based on us viewing a good person who lives, a bad person, a good person who dies, and a bad person who ends up living. So again, if we're talking about life and death in the next world, then obviously we are not able to be a judge of that. The other possibility is what tzaddik in Russia means is written in one of the commentaries on the Rambam from the Ravid. He basically says an interesting idea that everybody in the world, when we are born, is given a predetermined amount of years of life that we're going to live, but our actions in this world have the ability to increase or decrease that. So when the Gemara says that a person is a tzaddik, he's going to be written for life, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to live this year. It means that his life expectancy will increase, whereas somebody who is a rasha his life expectancy will decrease. And therefore, even though we say, wait a minute, we see a tzaddik who died, he was only at 40 years old, or he was only 10 years old, how do we understand that? The point is that perhaps that person was supposed to live only till 5 years old, right? And the fact that he lived till 40 years old, right? Because in fact, even though we think of it as a tragedy, and it is, that a 40-year-old dies at such a young age, but in fact, he actually, because he was such a tzaddik, actually gained more years of his life. And therefore, again, we can't be the judge because we don't know what that predetermined lifespan. And as opposed to a Rasha, his predetermined lifespan is decreased. So we see an 80-year-old Rasha who dies and say, wait, why did he get to live till 80? Perhaps he was supposed to live till 100, and him dying at 80 is in fact a punishment. So those are two different interpretations how to understand that Chaim and Misa, either in Olam Haba, as opposed to in this world, or based on your life expectancy, again, as opposed to life and death in this world. Then, just very quickly, what about perhaps redefining the words tzaddik and rasha? So the Sefer HaChinuch says that a tzaddik and rasha means literally. In fact, it's meduyak in the Gemara. It says rashaim gemurim. It says tzaddikim gemurim. The Chinuch says it's talking about 100% rasha, 100% tzaddik, someone who's so bad or so good. So that person who's so bad on Rosh Hashana is already written the Misa. Someone who's that's so good is already written the Chaim. And again, our question goes away because most people in the world are not 100% in either direction, and therefore they are all going to fall into the Beinoni category. And the final answer for today is brought down by the Ran in his commentary. He says very simply, it's not any great chiddush or any big deal that the Gemara is saying. All it's saying is that tzaddik is somebody who is zocha b'din. He has merited a good judgment for this year. It doesn't mean he's a righteous person. Perhaps he's a bad person. But he did something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu felt he should be meriting this year, another year of life. And therefore, in this Gemara, he's called a tzaddik. Again, it doesn't mean he's righteous the way we normally think of the word tzaddik. It just means that for this year, he is zocha b'din. And someone who's a rasha in this Gemara doesn't mean he's an evil person. It could be he's the Gadol Hador. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has decided for this year that he's going to be written Lamisa. So just a quick summary. Again, the Gemara says these three books are open. The tzaddik, the rasha. Tzaddik is written for life. The rasha is written for death. How could that be? We don't see that happening. So what does the Gemara mean? So either like the Balei Tosfos say that it's talking about life and death in the next world in Olam Haba, or like the Ravid says that it's talking about in comparison to our predetermined lifespan. A tzaddik l'chaim is going to be increase his lifespan, whereas a rasha will be decreased. Or perhaps tzaddik and rasha means something different, not 51% good, 51% bad. It means someone who's 100% good, 100% bad. And then again, that falls our way, our question, because most people then are Beinoni. And finally, very simply, a tzaddik is just someone who is zocha b'din. He was given another year of life, and therefore, again, it's not necessarily open to our eyes. Again, the whole point of our question was based on what we observe as somebody who is a tzaddik, someone who is a rasha, and us not seeing them live and die the way the Gemara seems to suggest. So clearly, according to either of these four answers, we're not simply talking about just a regular scenario of a basically good person and a basically bad person living and dying in this world, rather as we said, one of these four explanations. Tomorrow we'll continue in class and discuss this last line in the Gemara, considering it sounds like, according to most of these interpretations, most of us fall into the Beinoni. And therefore, let's learn tomorrow what exactly happens to the Beinoni on Rosh Hashana and on Aser Simei Tshuva, and then finally on Yom Kippur. Everyone have a wonderful night, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in class.